One day in 1967, everything went dark. Radars failed. Satellites dropped. Commanders thought, this is it. The nukes were nearly launched. But the enemy wasn't who they thought. And the real cause was 93 million miles away. The 1960s were a pressure cooker. The US and the Soviet Union, two nuclear giants locked in a deadly stare-down. One mistake, one glitch, and it could all go up in smoke. Everyone knew it. Everyone waited for the moment someone would blink. And then, on May 23, 1967, it happened. Military radar stations across the Northern Hemisphere suddenly went blind. High-frequency radio, crucial for long-distance military communication, fell eerily silent. The Strategic Air Command, responsible for America's nuclear arsenal, lost touch with its early warning systems. In the middle of the Cold War, this wasn't just a technical failure. It was a potential first strike. Everything about it matched what they feared most, a coordinated Soviet attack. So they prepared to respond in kind. Bombers were fueled, crews were called in, planes were positioned. Within minutes, the world teetered on the edge of full-scale nuclear war. Then, something stopped them. A report, a single update that came just in time. Earlier that day, in a quiet office far from the tension of command centers, a group of solar forecasters had noticed something strange, an enormous flare erupting from the sun's surface. They sent a warning. At the time, space weather was considered a fringe field. Something interesting, not urgent. But that message, that tiny sliver of insight, changed everything. Because that flare was real, and it had unleashed a powerful geomagnetic storm. A storm that slammed into Earth's magnetosphere, scrambled communications, and blinded radars. Not an act of war, just the sun, throwing a tantrum. The order to launch was never given. The bombers stood down. The crisis was over before it began. But the lesson? It stayed. It reshaped how the military thought about the sky above. After 1967, space weather wasn't just for scientists. It was a matter of national security. Every solar flare, every spike in radiation, every strange burst from the sun suddenly mattered. And this storm? It wasn't even the worst we've seen. In 1859, a massive solar eruption known as the Carrington event lit up skies around the world. Telegraph lines crackled with electricity, paper caught fire, operators were shocked through their keys. The planet was electrified, literally. If that same event hit us today, we'd be in serious trouble. Satellites would fry, navigation systems would shut down, communication networks would collapse. Financial markets could be frozen in an instant. Air traffic halted, power grids overloaded and gone. Hospitals might be operating in the dark, water systems could stall. It wouldn't just be inconvenience, it would be catastrophe on a global scale. Because our world isn't built to handle that kind of force. It's delicate, hyper-connected, vulnerable, all of it, hinging on the invisible infrastructure of space-based systems and electromagnetic stability. We assume we'll see danger coming, but this kind of danger doesn't arrive with warning sirens or mushroom clouds. It's silent, it's fast, and it's invisible. In 1967, a handful of scientists watching the sun may have stopped a nuclear war. But if something similar happened today, would we be so lucky? The truth is, we rely on systems that most of us never think about. GPS timing for banking, satellites for weather prediction, communications for everything from ambulances to air traffic control. And those systems? They're all vulnerable. All it takes is one solar outburst to set off a cascade of failures. One missed alert, one misinterpreted outage. And we could spiral into chaos before anyone even knows what hit them. In moments of confusion, panic isn't just possible, it's predictable. And when panic meets power, history has shown us that decisions get made fast, and sometimes disastrously wrong. We've seen how leaders react under pressure, how fear can tip the balance. 1967 showed us that nature itself can light the fuse. And it's not just governments that need to worry. Corporations, hospitals, transportation networks, they all rely on the same fragile infrastructure. If the sun decided to roar tomorrow, how many of us would even realize what's happening until it's too late? Most people have no idea how much of their daily life hinges on things like satellite signals and radio waves. Tap your phone to pay? GPS. Call a friend? Satellites? Watch a forecast? Weather data beamed from space. It all connects. And a solar storm could snap those connections like twigs. The ripple effects would touch everything. Financial transactions failing, emergency services going dark, security systems offline. Imagine cities running blind, airports shutting down mid-flight, ships adrift without navigation, trains stopping cold on the tracks. The entire world slowed to a crawl, or worse, a standstill. And let's be honest, we're more connected than ever. But that doesn't mean we're more prepared. Since 1967, space weather monitoring has improved. Agencies like NOAA and NASA watch the sun closely. Satellites like SOHO and SDO feed us data around the clock. We've even begun developing models to forecast space weather the way we forecast hurricanes. But prediction is still tricky. Sometimes we see it coming. Sometimes we don't. And when we don't, the timeline from flare to failure can be measured in hours, maybe less. In the most extreme cases, mere minutes. The stakes are real. In 1989, a solar storm knocked out power to 6 million people in Quebec. In 2003, the so-called Halloween storms disrupted GPS and grounded flights. In 2012, a storm the size of the Carrington event narrowly missed Earth. It passed through our orbit just days after we had moved through that space. We've seen the warnings, we've had the previews, but have we truly prepared for what a full-scale event would look like? The question isn't if the sun will strike again, it's when, and how ready we'll be. This isn't science fiction, it's a known risk, a ticking clock above our heads. And the more wired our world becomes, the more we stand to lose. The 1967 storm was a close call, a brush with disaster that could have rewritten history. Nuclear war averted by a solar flare. It sounds absurd, but it happened. And if we forget it, we risk repeating it. This story isn't just about one day in May. It's about how fragile peace is, how nature doesn't care about human politics, and how sometimes survival depends not on might, but on understanding. So when the next flare erupts, and screens go black, and data disappears, let's hope we remember 1967. Let's hope we listen to the sun. If this story blew your mind, hit subscribe. What surprised you most about the solar storm? Or what should we cover next? Let us know in the comments, because the past is full of close calls. And we're just getting started.